It's not only added the goals into my system, it's linked it to the correct area, dropped a goal overview, success metrics of what I'm doing, and it's even given context of how I planned this in the process. Oh my God. Hello, my friends. It's currently the end of the year, and so that only means one thing. The most important thing I've learned to do properly in my life: set goals and do a proper, critical, in-depth yearly review. This is the one thing that has completely moved the needle and changed how I work and how I live. It turned a side hustle into a full six-figure business for me, and I want to give you the same tools to have that same impact on your life, whether it's personal life, the work you're working on, or how you just want to show up for yourself better each year. Now, what we're going to do today is a guided process of reviewing your year. We could do it using this, or we could do it using this, a full Notion system, or even in 2026, this, my Notion Agent Coach, a goal setting and vision coach. So this can either be a video that you pause and work along with as I do it with you, or just watch it now for a full overview of the ultimate approach to goal setting and planning ahead to find your North Star. And then you can just come back and do it yourself in your own time. Whichever it is, grab a brew and let's dive in. Welcome back to Better Creating. It's time to plan your year. Okay, so before we start, you need to choose your adventure. You can choose one of these systems and download it below to join in, or just watch. First of all, I've got a full Notion template, a goal-setting coach that will take you through the process that I have honed, an 8-step goal-setting process, and it will guide you through it using Notion Agent. Or you can go deeper and download my full Agent OS system, which this is part of. This has been blowing my mind, and over 1,000 people who have downloaded it, and it's transformed their productivity and systems in Notion. Also, there's a kind of slightly more old school version that doesn't include the coach. You can just use this in Notion, build your wheel of life, review your year, and then set your goals using a Notion template. Or if you really want to go old school, I've even got this, the PDF version. So you can pick which one you want to do. This you could just put into GoodNotes or something, work through it, and you'll see the same stuff, building your wheel of life, everything else, all of the questions and instructions that you might want to go through, and you can use your trusty Apple Pencil to do that. Or if you really want to go old school, you can just print it out and do it with a pen and paper. Why not? But of course, well, I figured that given it's 2026, we're entering the agentic age, the new revolution of AI, we should use my goal setting coach. And while we do it, I can show you how powerful a dialogue with agent can be. And that involves a couple of other key tools. I'm actually using an AI dictation service, which is probably more than that. It's a voice control system called Wispr. It's transformed how I use all of my devices, and I think interacting with a proper voice system, not just a dictation system, is a really great option. And I'll probably use my other favorite dictation service, which talks back to me, which is Speechify. So just to give us a little bit more fun as we do it. Let's go. We're going to do this in 3 stages. Looking back, which is a yearly reflection that is essential for rigorously and effectively setting goals later on. Looking forward, a visualization for your vision of the coming year and setting your goals. And then finally, implementation, putting the right steps in place to make sure you actually take the right actions towards reaching them. That's a total of 9 smaller steps throughout this video. First of all, let's talk about what this process is going to be. We're going to use my goal setting coach, part of my Agent OS, for this demo. So I've set this into Claude Opus. Within Notion Agent, you could use Gemini, which has just come out, which is pretty powerful, but let's stick with this for today. And let's use Wispr to ask it. I'm just going to hold down Control. Hi, I'm going to demo and actually do my full goal setting process. So let's start that. And could you share with me what the first step would be? So here you can see it's entering its mode protocol. It's looking at star guides, planning out its vision coach system, and thinking through what we need to do. And it's all using my instructions. So let's see what it has to say. And why don't we do this? I'm going to use Speechify. So we're going to do Command-Alt-A.
The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. Steve Jobs.
Alt and Command quit to stop it speaking to me. So there you go. That's Wispr Flow and Speechify being used, just so you know. So I think let's do the deep dive version. It won't take 2 hours on this because we're going to cut in and out of it, but I want to give you all the steps. Okay, let's do the deep dive version, but let's try and keep it as tight and focused as we can. Please could you first of all share all of the steps that we would go through so I can understand what we're going to be doing. So what's really great about this is that I've programmed the goal setting coach to also be able to search my calendar and my wider workspace, such as this, which is equivalent to my Life OS template, and it can look through it. So it's a super powerful system to be able to do this with a little bit more of a kind of thoughtful, focused process. I'm not just typing and writing, I can have a dialogue. And then we're going to go into vision and goal setting process and then actually implementing it. We can start to add these into our system. And what's great about Notion Agent is it will do all of that. So I can just ask it to do it. Okay, let's begin with stage 1. Let's start with looking back and reviewing your year. Now this allows you to set goals from a place of clarity and understanding. And the first step, building your wheel of life. All right, how about this? So it's dropping in my life areas and I can give it my ratings. Okay, it's asking me to do this.
Let's create a quick snapshot of where you are across key life areas. Rate each from 1 to 10. 1 equal to needs significant attention, 10 equal to thriving.
Great, so here are my life areas and I'm just going to reply to it. Okay, so health and fitness, I would say that is at a 3 because I've just had a baby and I'm not doing it. Relationship and family, solid, let's say that's an 8. Career and work, really working on professional growth, maybe we'll say that's a 7. Finances, I could do better, let's say it's a 5. Personal growth, 3. Fun and recreation, 4. Physical environment, we need to move house, so that's maybe a 4. Social and community, doing quite well seeing my friends, let's say a 7. Creativity and expression, I'd like a bit more space for that, 4. And rest and inner peace, 5, probably in the middle. Now this is what I love about Wispr Flow. Look at that. I've said all of that and it's just answered in a really beautifully simple formatted way. That is why this is better than a dictation service. Really cool. And then I need to answer the 2 questions. So let's do that next. Based on this wheel of life, we would be selecting, if we jump over to the goal tracker, you can put it in here and then see which of these and where they are and see what you want to focus on. And ideally, it would be the smaller items that you would want to focus on. I think the 3 areas are probably health and fitness. I'd like to continue to set some goals for career and work, finances, and why don't we also say personal growth. So this would be your opportunity to pause the video and do the same. And if you want to then insert this yourself into Notion, then jump into your goals setting system and drop these in with the wheel of life. Otherwise, you can just do this with the agent like I am. Now, I'm actually happy with this. It's laid that out and it's now going to guide me through looking at these. It's just asked me this.
Of health and fitness and personal growth, both at 3, which one do you feel would have the biggest positive knock-on effect across everything else if you improved it?
And then it's asked me this.
Once you answer that, I'd like to offer a significant events sweep. Would you like me to scan your Notion calendar and workspace for key events, projects, and milestones from the past year to help anchor your reflection before we dive into wins, losses, and lessons?
Great. Okay. I would say probably health and fitness are going to be the first place to focus out of those 2. And yes, please do a sweep for my significant events. Maybe for today's example, why don't we just go from August this year through to the end of the year so that we're not going through the whole year right now. Please could you also update my areas rating on the BC goal setting page. And what you can do in Notion is do this at BC. And I can just drop in the page. So actually, if we just jump into Better Creating, go to my goal setting tracker, this is what I want it to update. So why don't we just... So let's see if it does it. While it's doing that, this is why I think a wheel of life is so essential, because it allows you to really get an overview of your life areas and where you're not spending enough time and focus, I think it becomes very, very clear very quickly what parts of your life you are caring about and what you're not. And I think good goal setting, ultimately, we should be only really aiming for maybe 2 to 5 goals, maybe a goal per area for the kind of 3 or 4 key areas that you really want to focus on. So there you go. It's updating the wheel of life. As you can see, it's set my priorities based on that conversation. It's really powerful. Okay, so things have definitely improved. There's a bit more balance I can see in my life than last year. And that's why these charts in Notion are so powerful. All right, let's see what it's got to say. It's working through, it's updated those items. It's now looking through what's happened over the year. As you can see, it's giving me summaries of each month. Totally amazing. Next in this stage, you're going to look through your calendar for the whole of the past year and draw out the significant events from your year, good and bad. Don't hold back from the bad ones because they're just as valuable. There's a space to do this in the template. The agent is trained on it, and you can even do it in the PDF with your pen. I actually really love doing this because I remember a bunch of stuff. Once you've listed your significant events for each month, you can now label them as wins and losses if you didn't do that earlier. Later, you'll be able to actually add lessons that you've learned from each one to take forward to inform the next year. Now, you could do that at this point, but I think there's a better point to do it later on. Now, you'll also find in this section of the process, in my template, there is a set of prompted reflections. So if you want to do some more detailed journaling, reflecting on your year, this would be a great moment to do that. Our aim with this is going to be to actually list this stuff down and then give it key win or loss ratings. So we want to think what were the big events that worked and what were the ones that didn't go so well. So I'm just doing this as an example, but as you can see, it's doing a huge amount of work for us. So it's looked through and it's found these items. Now, what I love about this is that the AI is also summarizing a lot of this for me. So it's giving me these key lessons about what has happened. Great. Something I'd love you to do is drop this into my significant events database, which you'll find within the BC goal setting page labeled for 2025. Just pick out the key events that feel like they are significant items to reflect on. But for me, looking through this, what were the wins? Well, the big wins have got to be... Okay, so let's see what it does. So here you can see it dropping these items in. It's a really exciting way to do it because I can add them. So if we now go to my Better Creating system and we look at 2025, we can see the significant events have been dropped in. They've been linked to different areas. It's such an effective way to be able to quickly update Notion. I absolutely love it. So there you go. That is my significant events added into the system. Let's see what it's going to do next. Step 2, past year reflection. So we've found 8 wins and 3 losses. Now, obviously, you could spend a lot more time doing this, but I think this is a really great place to start. And if you were doing this manually, you would be clicking Start a New Year Reflection in the template. You would open that page up, number it, and you could work through and answer these questions and be able to drop them in within the template like this. So it's pretty cool. Now, what we haven't done is the 80-20 recap yet. So let's see if it will do that with us next. Once you have your significant events divided into wins and losses, what we need to do is think what moved the needle the most and what lessons you want to draw from each of those events to grow and adapt your decisions into the new year. So we're going to ask, which 20% of wins leveraged the most positive impact on your life last year? And then identify the 20% of losses that leveraged the most negative or detrimental impact on your life last year. So pause the video here if you want to now do your 80-20 recap before we move on to the next section. If you were doing that, it would be great for you to just find your items listed in your... And if I go into 2025 and open up, say, releasing this, you could then put your lesson into it. So let's do it. Focusing on a clear single product really makes a difference for revenue and is a great way to support the rest of the business and enable me to hire. So there you go. You're able to start dropping things in like that. But for today, since I'm demoing it, you might want to take a moment to pause and write up your lessons that you've learned from the wins and losses. Let's now move on to the 80-20 question.
Looking at everything you achieved, what's the one thing you did this period that, if you did more of it, would transform 2025 into an even better year? And a follow-up, what would you need to say no to in order to protect your health, personal growth, and downtime next year?
I would say the one thing that I did in this period. So those are my opinions. So this could be a moment for you to pause the video and do your 80-20 reflection. And you can drop that into the template as you go. You'll see in the template, you can highlight the key things, the key wins and the key losses. So you're able to be a little bit more focused. So you could consider identifying which 20% of your wins had the most positive impact of the year and which losses were the most negative or detrimental. This is a really great way to get really clear on what to change about your practice. But I'm really enjoying this more colloquial, conversational approach. And this is what I've learned, apparently.
A dot focus creates space. One big bet at work. Fewer scattered partnerships. More room for you. That's a strong foundation to build your 2026 vision on.
I really love this. What we're now getting is a little bit of coaching on approaches to goal setting. I'm actually learning something here because we're using the AI system. 25 things you want, circle the top 5. One word or phrase that guides all your decisions. Pick 3 outcomes that matter. This is really cool. All right, so I'm going to ask it to do that. Use the instructions that we've given it. Okay, so we've looked back, time to look forward. It's stage 2, the vision and new year goal setting process. Step 4 or task 4 in this entire process is a kind of vision setting, vision creation. It's a prompted journaling process on your coming year. Don't skip this, it's really useful. This is where we paint a picture of what you want your life to look like. So now that we've reflected, you might want to do some journaling prompts and follow those. Those are in the system here. You can give you a little bit more in depth, but I'm going to now move on to thinking forward and reflecting on what could happen. Work and better creating, health, personal growth and rest, family and relationships. Now, I've actually noticed that it's not actually following my process exactly, because you'll see in my system, I also have journaling prompts, questions about the year that I would expect to be able to be led through. And so I can also give feedback to my agent. So let's see what it does if I share this with it. Okay, now it's found it. So there is a little bit of this with agents that you've got to clean up and improve on. So it missed the questions and here they are. Great. So here's my unfinished sentences for the coming year. Let's move on to that. And you can take your time to work through these. So I'm just going to answer these quickly. You can pause the video and do the same. So I've just done a kind of example response, a train of thought, and I've dropped those in. Let's see what it does. Great, so it's captured these ideas. And I actually might give it another bit of feedback here. When you have captured responses to journaling, please can you add them to the relevant year page so that we have captured that in the year's database related to goal setting reflections. Your next step, if you're following along, is do purpose prompts. These go deeper, and I think these are really great prompts to help you get really clear perspective before you actually set goals. So if you want to pause the video, using one of the systems that you've got downloaded, the PDF, the template, follow those prompts and take a moment to do that. While I get this bit of feedback sorted out with my agent. And as you can see, you can always just ask it to do things you want it to do. So if you've captured some valuable information, work out where you want to store it. Now for me, I want this to go into 2026, which it is now creating, I believe, and dropping it in. Weirdly, we seem to have 2 of them, and that's probably because it's created a new one. Let's just take a little look. There it is, it's dropped it in. There's the key themes. Feedback, you should have checked if the 2026 year already existed, which it did. Please can you move what you added to that other 2026 year? Okay, and you can see that it has now dropped this in for 2026. Really cool. It's just so much easier to use. All right, so we're now going to answer these prompts. Okay, so I'm dropping my big transcript in. I've answered mine. Let's see what we get. Now you can see, since I've asked my agent to make sure it added this information in, it is now updating my year. So if we open up my year, we should see it's now dropping in my purpose prompts and some dreams deferred down here. Nice. Okay, so you have done your reflection, you have looked back at the year, and you've started to think about those big questions. You're now in the perfect place to actually set meaningful goals. But I like to do this in a slightly different way. What we're looking for is our North Star. But when we try and set a goal, we want to set a couple that are both believable, but kind of exciting and really pushes. And that's why I prefer to do dream setting first before I do goal setting. This is where real goal setting begins. Trust me, doing this more in-depth process makes the clarity, focus, and likelihood of your goals being clear and achieved so much stronger. Dream setting is a way of thinking bigger and longer before you turn those visions into actionable goals. If you want to do this right now, you would set a timer perhaps for 10 minutes and list everything you might want as goals or dreams for your life over the next 10 years. Don't filter, just write or record. From there, you'll be able to match each one of these into a time frame. Do you want those to be visions for 1, 3, 5, or 10 years' time? We look in the yearly reflection. We are now on the 10-minute dream setting process. We're going to set our dreams for the year, and that will then move us into setting our goals. Now, it is worth saying, by the way, that there were some other prompts that you could do just in the same way about your reflection that are in the template. And this is something that if you want to check out, make sure you follow that through as you work with the AI as well. Okay, so we can see that that Sayman has shared that from my prompts, this is the vision.
The vision, a calmer, more focused life where better creating runs on 4 to 5 hours of leveraged work, freeing up real time for family, theatre, and eventually living abroad and publishing something big.
I like the sound of that. It's really given me clarity, and this is a great way to use an AI coach to help you find that clarity because it summarizes that information. It's in a conversation with you. So let's now do our dream setting process. I'm going to do it for each of my key areas. It's spreading it out a little bit. We'll sort it out later on. So let's do the brain dump. So I want you now to go through your life areas that you're focusing on, and we're going to do the dream setting. I'm actually going to ask it, can we actually focus this on the original 4 areas I wanted to put most focus on? So if you want, you can kind of help it clarify what you want it to do. And I love that the agent here has actually given me reasons of why it matters. So let's do it. Okay, dream setting for health and fitness. I would love to be someone who's like really, really strong from yoga. Personal growth, I would love to be doing much more like talking with and engaging with coaches and thought leaders in their spaces. I also have short-term goals for my career and better creating. I think the products I want to focus on in the next year are a proper knowledge product that helps people leverage tech and AI and strategies behind it. I also probably have a big goal in the next year, which is to not only have launched the first version of that knowledge product, but to have split this YouTube channel into the current channel and a Notion and systems focused channel, which I'm going to start ASAP in 2026. All right, so I've dropped those in. Okay, so I'm doing this a lot quicker than you normally would, but I think it gives you a good view of the kind of process that we're going through. So it's now summarizing what I have talked about, and I suspect it will also add that into my 2026 goal setting reflections. And there is the 10-year brain dump, in it goes. And it's kind of clarified what the big long-term goals are. So our next step is to turn these into goals. If you've not already done it, pause the video to get that done, because now we're going to move on to this. We now need to take our 1-year dreams and write them as concrete goals. This is something that you can measure and know when you've achieved them. From each of these, you're going to set a goal statement, and I want you to write this as if you've already achieved it. For example, I have launched X rather than launch X. Number 2, you want a success measure. How will you know when it's been done? And 3, a deadline. When do you want this to be finished and completed in the year? Giving yourself a deadline always goes a long way. Something else I'm really loving about the agent is that it will kind of present things to you in a way that makes it much more accessible. You can see it's drawn out things from my dream setting that I can work from in order to do my goal setting. So it's a kind of nice iterative process. Okay, so I think for career and better creating, done looks like Okay. So we're dropping that in. Now, what should happen as you add your goals now is you're going to be actually dropping them into your goal setting system. So if we just drop back into the goal tracker and yearly planner system, you'll see we've done our yearly reflection and that we've gone through all of that process. Now we would be adding the goals into the goals database. And that's what I want my system to do for me. So if we come back out of 2026, go back to my goal tracker, I want it to add the goals into this system here. So let's see where it's at. It's got it. I'm just going to say here, great, let's carry on through with this format. And once we've done all of those, please don't forget to add these as goal entries in my goals database. So this could be a great moment for you to now pause the video and do this process for yourself. I'm going to continue on and do these next 3, then I'll show you what the results look like, because we have a final step here after this, which is going to be making sure you have the implementation steps in place to make it happen. Okay, pause the video. Okay, so I have completed my goal setting process for those 4 areas I started on. And by this point, you should really have the same thing, a set of goals for your areas that you wanted to focus on with a deadline and success metrics linked in. I've done a bunch of them across finances, personal growth, health and fitness, and my business. And what you can see now is it's now summarized them beautifully into a table saying, these are the areas, these are the deadline dates, goals that I've listed out. And I'm quite happy with them. I'm going to add one more. I'd like to add one more, which is that I have continued to keep my existing commercial theatre productions growing. Okay, let's add that in and let's now see what happens. So what should happen here is we should see the goals appear in my goal tracker. Now, this is the exciting step. Now, if you were doing this practically, you would essentially be in here, clicking new, adding the new goal into the goals database, linking it to the year that you want to link it to. You could number the goal so it's clear, and then you can be adding obstacles and solutions that may come up for those goals using the goal template. But I'm not going to use that for now. Let's just delete that page. Let's go back to our goals. Now, the great thing again about using the agent is it's going to be linking these to my channels database. If we click through to that, there is a channel system within it, which will link it to the correct things. So it's going to kind of connect up the goals and work them into my system really effectively. Let's just go back out. So this would be a moment for you to pause the video, hit like if you haven't yet, of course, get your goals added into your system. Now, if you're doing it on paper, you can just put it, or on the iPad, you can just put it into your page. And I would propose, though, writing these up and sticking them on your wall so that you're always looking at what those goals are so you know how to work with them. All right, so you can see my key goals are going in. We can see them all listing into the year, which is exciting. And they are now turning up in the page. Very, very cool. So if we look at this goal, I've done the process and it's not only added the goals into my system, it's linked it to the correct area, dropped a goal overview, success metrics of what I'm doing, and it's even given context of how I planned this in the process. Oh my God, let's jump back and see what it's doing. It's finishing that off. So there we go, there are my goals. So I've now created my goals and this is what is left to do. The remaining steps are this.
Step 6, add milestone tasks to each goal. Step 7, identify obstacles and solutions. Step 8, set up review cadence, monthly, quarterly check-ins.
So this leaves us to our final stage. And if we look at our goal setting system, that is this stage, next actions. We need to make sure that what we're doing, if we also look at the goal setting coach, is we're doing implementation and action. We're going to create milestone tasks for your goals. This works brilliantly in a Notion task manager that is linked up to your goal setting system. This is probably the most important part of the process because if you don't set up the systems to make it happen, you're never actually going to reach the goal. So now we need to essentially reverse engineer from this point how we're going to get there. Great, let's continue with milestones. So what you might want to do now is sit down with your goals and think about, first of all, what are the key tasks and milestones that you need to have done in order to reach the goal. You can create a task list, just dump it into the goal, and in Notion, if you're using something like my Life OS system, it will just simply link the goals to the tasks. Fantastic. You might also want to consider what the obstacles are to you getting those things done or the goals done, and then what the solutions to those obstacles would be. You can go as deep as you like, but for now, I'm just going to focus on my milestones. Now, if we come back to the coach, it's going to take us through this process, and we're going to break it down into actions. First of all, second YouTube channel. So let me just do this first example. I won't show you all of them, and then you can use that as a model to do the same for yourself. So I've said, just spoken to it using Wispr Flow, going, this is the kind of thing. I'm probably going to call this second channel by my name, but I'm just code naming it Better Systems at the moment. So what it's done is looked at the databases. It has created a project called Better Systems in my projects database. So we can click through to that, and here it is. You can see it. And actually what I'm going to do is just make sure it is a new project so that we have all of the formatting in there, and we can see it is linked to it. It's linked it to the YouTube channel area, which is great. And it's also linked it to the goal. You'll then see if we click on this, we can also see that this new task can make it urgent and important. And what is really important is I can see that it's linked to the project, but not only that, we should also see it's related to the goal. Now I actually want to just update my view here. I'm just going to customize my layout to make sure that I can see related goal, because actually that's probably more important at the moment than what's pinned. So let's just unpin the area and just pin related goals. And now I'm goal focused. I can click through to my goal. I can see what it's linked to. I can see everything is connected. It's totally brilliant. We've got all of these items connected in, and it's ready to go. Now, something I'm now doing is actually using my wider agent instructions. And for my knowledge product goal and its milestones, I'm asking it if it could go into a bit more detail by, first of all, checking my wider workspace and my meeting notes and seeing if it can use that to suggest milestones, because it means I don't have to do the work necessarily. I can get the first stage of this worked out with the agent's contextual knowledge of my work. And what you'll see here is it's looking through my calendar, my documents, and my meeting notes where we've been talking about these ideas. It's a really deep search that it goes through, really amazing. So that should really help it do this process. Let's see what it comes up with. And I also really like that it's aware we've been working for a little while. So it's proposing, is this a good place to pause and come back and do it at a later point? But anyway, let's see what it comes up with. Really great. This is great. I think you can create all of these milestones except for the Plan With Me live event. That one might be nicer to add as this video, basically. So this video is going out in December. You could also add negotiate and set a relationship with Ash, who is a launch strategist and copywriter. And that can be in January. And there you go. It's just going to create them for me. And I really do trust this system because I've essentially given my agent instructions on how to add things. You'll see in the main Agent OS master instructions, there are instructions of what my key databases are. So it's going to kind of work with the key databases in this system. Really good. Super powerful. I'm going to now continue on. This would be the point for you to pause your video and do this process for yourself. Otherwise, let's carry on. Okay, the final stage of the process is to ensure that you can achieve your goals through action. So don't skip these last two items. They are to ensure you are ready to overcome obstacles and have a means to monitor your progress and stay on track. I propose that you always try and do this, a monthly and weekly review. So my weekly review system allows us to look at the projects database and the goals database. And when something is due, it gets marked as needing review. There's a system that checks when it was last reviewed and when it should be reviewed. I can then click mark as reviewed once I've checked where I'm at and updated the tasks and so on and so forth. Click mark as reviewed and it is hidden. Fantastic. And the same is true for projects. I can look at my example project in here, check through my tasks, move things around, make sure everything's up to speed. And when it's done, click mark as reviewed and it disappears from the list. So if you don't know about my Life OS systems, they go beautifully with Agent OS. Check them out via the link below. I've got everything you need to get organized this year. Okay, so the agent has completed my milestone setting. I've got more to do, but I'm going to do these at a later point. Let's do these at a later point. Let's move on to the final steps of this process. We've got the goals captured, milestones mapped out. Finally, we need to make sure we get them to happen. Research shows the biggest gap isn't between intention and motivation, it's between intention and action. Well, first of all, this is a great example of how I've trained my agent template on my knowledge. This is stuff that I've learned and put into it. It's if then. So let's focus on those top 2 to 3 goals. For each, I'd like to work out what the obstacle is and then what the intention, if then intention could be. If I feel too busy to work on the course, then I will block out 2 hours every Thursday morning as non-negotiable time. If I miss the gym, so on and so forth. Well, I'm actually going to say this, because this is another way we can get the agent to do it. Do you know what? This is great, but I would actually love you just to write me some implementation if-then intentions and obstacle clarity for each of my goals and just drop them into each goals page. Please tell me what you think I should be doing. These are 3 really interesting concepts to consider as you do this. Who needs to know about the goals for you to succeed? That's about having an accountability buddy. A really good idea. What would you need to say no to in order to make this right space to get it done? This is about an essentialist approach to focusing your time in the right place. And what environmental changes would you make to make the right actions easier? That could be about your workspace, but also about where you are and when you're somewhere to get things done effectively. Pause the video if you need to, and I'll show you what the results are before we wrap this up. Okay, this is a great example of making the AI help me and do a little bit of training and leading me through a process. I'm asking it to add my implementation planning in for me. The thing about a coach is that they should enable you to think differently and do things better, right? And that's where an AI can actually be creative, not just do your busy work. So I could have thought these up, but these are probably much better than I would have come up with. Obstacle clarity, most likely obstacles, time pressure, energy management, perfectionism, definitely, technical complexity, completely. It's reading all of this information from what I'm trying to do. It's even referencing my son going, bear in mind you've got a kid, fantastic. And then some if-then implementations, fantastic, they're dropped into the system. It's also interesting that it's dropped it before the context of dream setting. So it's doing a good bit of work for me. Interestingly, it's trying to move on to the other goals, but it can't find them. So I'm just going to stop it. Something about finding the page. But I think this is a really good example of how you can use this. Another thing I'm going to do in my template is just take everything, cut it out for a moment, make this a nice clean goal template so it all looks good and it's ready to go. Love it. Okay, I have completed my goal setting process. You can see I've actually got 8. Now, this is an example of how it can easily creep. I probably from here might want to consolidate some of these, but then again, a few are for April, a few are for August, a few for September, 1 for December. That allows a little bit of space. But this is what we've done. We've done our Wheel of Life scores. We've created our significant events. We've captured our lessons and reflections from the previous year and on the coming year. We've set goals with success metrics and deadlines. We've built milestones for all of those key items. And then we've added implementation intentions for every goal. That is how you set goals in Notion. So just a reminder, if you want to go deeper with this, I reckon my Agent OS template is probably your best bet to have this baked in with a bunch of other modes. Agent OS is your complete system that will manage everything in your life. I've got 6 modes within here, from a content writer to notes transformers, even decision-making coaches, productivity coaches, and all the rest. You can link your databases in, get onboarded with the homepage, and there's a bunch of good practices in there, along with prompt examples of how you can make the most of this system. It's all over at bettercreating.com/AgentOS, where you'll also be able to find things like my LifeOS templates and the smaller systems like the goal setting templates, and PDFs if you want to go the old-fashioned paper route. Although, come on, it's pretty good, isn't it? Drop me a comment below and let me know what your #1 goal for this year is. I would love to hear from you. And if you want to go deeper into agents, Notion, and general strategies to make your life more organized, make sure you subscribe below and check out this video next. And I hope this has been a great insight into goal setting. I've also got an older video that does it in a bit more of a traditional process if you want to watch that next. See you soon.